Hello everybody from Rio de Janeiro, a very sunny day here. We just had the G20 summit take place here, and I'm here as part of a Munich Security Conference gathering as well, discussing the role of the South, of the Global South, in global governance and in global security. And it's a fascinating time to be in Brazil and to be discussing these things. Our Brazilian colleagues are very proud of the fact that they managed to put out a communique yesterday as part of the summit, very hard-fought communique, but still major questions remain about the role of the South in global governance. Are they going to be willing, countries like Brazil, like South Africa, like India, Indonesia, and many others, very large countries, to really begin to underwrite the rules of international affairs and the provision of global public services, including security and others. And that is the biggest question that is in fact discussed in summits like the one that just took place here. And it's the biggest question sort of floating over the G20 as an entire structure, which is, are these going to be effective forums where a new consensus, perhaps a different consensus coming out of the South emerges? Of course, the discourse is very different depending on who you ask. So some of the more traditional powers, Western powers, the US, Europeans, and others, see in this emerging multipolar world a lot of disorder, the end of the rules-based order, threats to international trade, and many others. In many instances, by the way, these threats emerging from the West itself, from the new US administration, governments in Europe and in other places. In the South, this is sometimes portrayed as an opportunity. This is the chance for the South to rewrite the rules in a way that is more participatory. They're going to finally be major actors in international affairs. But then again, this question keeps on coming up. Are they going to be willing to take on the bill that this would demand in security, in diplomacy, in engagements around the world? And that is a massive question. Of course, there is a doubt here as to whether, even if this consensus from the South was possible, and this was also part of the discussions in the BRICS summit and others, are they going to be fast enough in building consensus and actually deploying the resources? And I'll finish on a final thought here, which is a lot of the things that we like about global governance and multilateralism are in fact a consequence of unipolarity and of the capacity and the willingness of the United States to underwrite and underpin the international order. As the US retreats, and it does so because of two forces: one, its declining relative weight in global affairs, but also domestic politics and the rise of a much more unilateralist, to some extent isolationist United States that does not continue to back its international commitments as it has for the last 70 years, then the question emerges, who is willing to step forward and take care of that? So massive questions coming out of Brazil, and this impacts the climate agenda, trade, development agenda, and many others. Thank you everybody for listening. Bye-bye from Rio.